I got contacted on Instagram by somebody asked me would they review the first six issues of their comic book. This is it here, City of Demons, and I think indie comics. I almost want to treat if we do if we do a review of an indie comic, I want to treat it a little bit differently because it's a different story compared to like a mainstream professional book, because a lot of indie comics can be like people's first time trying this. The art can not be at the same kind of level of the stuff you might see in professional comics, although there is some professional comics out there where the art is fairly lackluster. um so I guess when the person asked me would you have a look at this story, I kind of said, look, if I had a lot to criticize about it, I probably wouldn't do a video, because I didn't want to, like, just shit all over your hard work, because like comics are so hard to put together. There's so much work involved, and it's yeah, I guess it's probably hard even to get noticed on the internet. Like, not a lot of people read comics, and it's hard even amongst the small niche community of people that read comics. A lot of them won't do reviews, so it's pretty tough to get anyone to even notice your to get take notice of your stuff. Like, so I sat down last night and I said I'll have a look. So the person gave me the six issues, and I just looked at the first one to start with. And the funny thing is, like, I actually really like the cover. I love the lighting on this character's face. Like, I had to go through it a few times because the book is broken up. The first issue is broken up into two parts. There's kind of like a prologue and like a World War One section, and then there's like Los Angeles detectives in the 1920s. And the main character, his surname is used in the prologue, and then his first name is used in the second part. So I was kind of unsure who was who for when I read through it, so I kind of had to go through it again and figure it out, because it's in black and white. And I guess in the prologue, the two characters who stood out to me, like, there's two black men, and then the detective part, there's two partners, two black men as well. Like, so I was kind of like, are both of these the guys from the prologue, or is it just the one guy? So like, I was kind of a bit confused in that sense. Like, but essentially the story is it went fast, which I love. I like a comic that doesn't have too many like where they're like cramming the pages with text. Like, I like where they just kind of show you what's happening and let that kind of unfold. And like, on the whole, it was really easy to follow, outside of just that initial confusion with the surnames and the first names. But I guess the for me, what to say about this book, like, I think the artwork is like a work in progress, is what I'd say. Like, it's not up there with like the top comic book artists out there, and I do love black and white work. And then the story, I think the setup definitely got my attention and my interest, and I'm just going to talk about why here. Because at first, when I started, so there's a nice quote here by Oscar Wilde: the truth is rarely pure and never simple, right? And it looks like there's going to be a quote on every issue. So you've got World War One. One thing I noticed here, like, you see this biplane dropping a bomb. That looks like kind of a modern city, kind of. It's roughly drawn, but like, that had me a little bit confused. But I must say, like, when I saw 1980 World War One, like, my idea of World War One is kind of revolved around the history of Ireland related to World War One, and we get a lot of influence from Britain from World War One. So like, when I was looking at it at first, I saw a bunch, like, I saw these black men running around with the kind of classical gear on, like, and I was kind of thinking to myself, was there any black people fighting in World War One? I was thinking, like, who are they fighting for? Like, because I was not familiar with this at all. And Then I twigged it when the story changes to the 1920s in Los Angeles, and it follows this character here, Private Short. I think his first name is Lucas. I'm like, right, they're Americans, like, so I had to go to, I guess I'm a bit paranoid sometimes about European history, and the reason why is because there's a lot of modern media, especially in where, and the best way to give you an example is there's two cases here. So here's one here, right? The show Vikings Valhalla, and the leader of the village. So this is ancient Viking times. The leader of the village is a black woman, right? Well, maybe probably mixed race woman. Then another example is there was a TV show on BBC. So Anne Boleyn is a famous wife of Henry VIII. Like, she was not black. Like, she was, there's hundreds of paintings and probably all her lineage and everything. But this was a show where she was black. And then there's another show on Netflix called Bridgerton, where there's like a kind of, it's Victorian times, a rich family, and they're like mixed race. Now, to me, this is there's no harm in this. Like, it's just not something I'm interested in. Like, whenever we go back in time, I like it to be as faithful to the history as possible. So, like, based off of these types of shows, when I saw the start of this book with the black men in World War One, I was like, is this one of these kind of like, I don't even know what you call them. I think some people call them woke, is probably the term. Like, but it's kind of like, let's just replace people from this time period with other races, just for the representation, which is fine if you want to do that. Personally, I'd rather just be authentic. And I'll give another example of how it should be done properly. There was a TV show, a period drama called Poldark, and this was like, I think it's set in England, but it's kind of around the American War of Independence, where he comes home from America. But in season 5, they introduce a black woman into the story, and to me, if you want to set people of different races in this time period, it has to fit into the time period. And essentially, this man here is this woman's husband, and he served in the Caribbean, and I think he gets locked up for treason or something. So she actually comes to England to find his old friend Poldark and help to clear his name. Like, and what's authentic about that is like, because when she comes to England, like, everybody's looking at her funny, people are like spitting at her, like, and that's terrible, but that's what it was like in those times. Like, so I just like my historical stuff to be authentic. So I know I kind of digressed there a little bit, but when I saw these black men in World War One, I was like, is this one of these weird kind of shows where they just throw in people of other races into a time period where they normally wouldn't, or they shouldn't be? But I was totally wrong. Like, this is like, I went on to Grok and I said, did any black Americans or African Americans fight in World War One? And it said, yes, black Americans and African Americans did fight in World War One. Approximately 370,000 African Americans served in the US military during the war, which lasted from 1914 to 1918. So, like, kind of, there's a good bit there, like, which, and there's some really cool history. Like, this part stands out really prominently for me. The 93rd Division included 4 infantry regiments, which were loaned to the French army due to reluctance from US commanders to integrate them fully. The 369th Infantry Regiment, famously known as the Harlem Hellfighters, was particularly distinguished. They spent 191 days in combat, longer than any other American unit, and never lost a trench or a man to capture. And then down here it says individual standouts include soldiers like Henry Johnson of the 369th, who single-handedly fought off a German patrol in 1918, earning the nickname Black Death, and I don't know what that word is, posthumously the Medal of Honor in 2015. Like, that's fucking cool history, right? And now I'm on board with this story. I'm like, right, it does. I hope this could be just a little side piece of the main character's history. We may not go back to this part, but if it doesn't, someone fucking needs to do a story about the Harlem Hellfighters or about this guy Henry Johnson. Like you could turn him into you could do a story about him as a superhero or something like that. Like that's good stuff. Like so anyway, my fears were kind of relieved after I read that bit of a history lesson, and I was like, yeah, like this is a kind of nice set piece. Because what's great about indie comics is like when you read Marvel comics and DC comics, like a lot of it is they're stuck with those properties that they have, and they're just trying to reinvent them all the time. Like, because I think a lot of the creators don't get paid if they create a new character to fight against Batman or fight against Spider-Man. Like, they won't get any royalties or anything. So I think creators are reluctant to give any of their ideas. So indie comics is where you get all those really cool ideas. Like, and essentially this story, it's as I said, two nice set pieces. This one here in World War One, at the end, I'm not exactly sure what happens here, but like the Private Short character, it's like an explosion goes off. He kind of wakes up, and in the debris there's someone there standing, and he looks in shock, goes for his gun. This figure runs at him and he shoots them in the head. Like, so I'm not sure the significance of that. And then you go to, this is the detective era. And what I like, because I also question, I was like, was there any black detectives back in 1921? I was thinking, were they even allowed to be detectives? Like, and it seems if they were, it does fit in with the time period, because they just get put on like traffic duty and they're pissed off saying it's because we're black, and other police are getting all the good shit, like, you know. So, but they end up, him, what's the other guy's name? I can't remember his name. Let me see here, because Jennings is his partner, I think. Is it no, sorry, Jennings is like the commissioner. Short and White. Okay, so White is his partner. But anyway, what I would say is, on this main detective scene, I guess they establish that they're detectives, and you know, they're literally on this traffic stop, but then a car kind of nearly kills one of them. They go chasing it, and there's a bit of a shootout. There's some really nice action here, so some great facial expressions. Like, one that really stood out to me was this one here. Like, this page here is fantastic with the cars chasing. You know, there's kind of some nice effects in here, and I just love that panel here where the guy is like just biting down, and he's like trying to, you know, like steer the car. Like, I want to see more of that. Like, even there's some nice lighting here on the side of his face and his arm. Even though it's black and white, I do love black and white. What I would love to see, like, I guess there's levels. There's levels to black and white art, like, and I just wanted to bring up an artist that I absolutely love is Danny Earls. He's actually an Irishman, a fantastic artist. Like, but I guess this is your peak Premier League black and white art. Like, you know, I don't think it gets much better than this. Like, this guy works for Marvel and DC. Like, so that's the top. And I think the reason why this looks so amazing, and this looks, it does look good, don't get me wrong. What I think it needs is more value. And when I say value, it's the value is from white to black. Like, you know, like I think Danny's art, he's mastered the use of all the values and when to use those values correctly and when not to. Whereas I think with this art, I think the artist is still kind of figuring out a lot of things. Like, so there's kind of probably that reluctance to commit to like really strong white or strong black. And like, don't get me wrong, like, it's really hard to do that. Like, but essentially the story ends where we have the partner White gets shot in the neck, and Short gets out. I think it's Lucas Short. He gets out and he's holding his partner, and like there's blood coming down the side of his neck. Now, to me, the hook of this story was the kind of setting, you know, like the setting of World War One, and the and the fact that like there's millions of World War One stories out there, like, so it was, for me, more it was that there was black people in World War One, and now these guys are detectives in the 1920s. So we'll see where it goes. This is a long video, so if you stuck with me this far, well done. And look, I'll go through the other ones. I'll pepper them in with all the other stuff I'm reviewing, and yeah, leave it at that.